Hey there everyone, Gamer Nutrition here, and welcome back. In this video, I'm going to go over some things you might need to consider picking up if you're going to consider going down the ketogenic diet. Up front, this video is going to be a little up and down. There's going to be some footage going on in the background. I tried doing this down in my kitchen, just using my phone to record and all that stuff. A lot of shaky cam going on and everything, and the microphone on this, when you're doing this way, FaceTime perfectly fine, but as soon as you turn it around the other way in order to record something else, doesn't work so well. So I'm going to use the footage, but talk you through this, work through it on this. Okay, to start off with, you're going to need proper measuring equipment. And the first thing that absolutely, like if there's one thing I'm going to say you must have, and this isn't just for a ketogenic diet, but for any good diet, you need to have a scale. You need to have a food scale. You have to know what it is, the percentages, the amounts you're putting into your body. A lot of nutrition labels, you'll go to something, and this isn't so much about liquids, but a lot of foods, like you'll maybe get a candy bar, and it'll say serving size is 1 bar, 16 ounces. If you weigh that bar, it wouldn't be uncommon to find out that bar is actually 20, 22, 24 ounces. They tend to go over quite a bit. The serving size tends to be closer to serving suggestion. No, not the serving size as the nutrition label goes, but the amount of servings contained within the package or whatever tends to be more of a suggestion than an actual thing. So you need a food scale. The one you see here, I picked that up off Amazon for like $9. And the nice thing about it is you can turn it on. It does both grams and ounces, which is really quite handy. But then you're also going to need measuring cups, things along those lines, some basic baking things that everyone will have. From there, the next thing you're going to want, at least what I find works really well, I really need, is a good blender. This could be a traditional stand-up type blender that you put everything in. So let me explain why. There's going to be a lot of vegetable consumption, a lot of greens consumption, a lot of your kale, spinach, all those type things. You could do that all in salad, but that's a lot of salad to take in. I find that putting it into a drink, mixing it up into like a smoothie type thing, is just a lot better. It makes it easier to consume that. And I'm actually doing 2 of these a day. So that's why you kind of want a blender. If you're someone that really loves salad and you're going to just eat the salad, you can probably get away without this, but it is a good thing to have nonetheless. Now, like I said, so a traditional stand-up blender will work. They're going to generally hold more. So if you want to say make all of your vegetables for that one day, put it in the blender first thing in the morning, and then you could drink parts of it throughout the day. That's good. I did pick up a Ninja, one of the littler ones. This has been really convenient. So there's several pros to the Ninja. One, the way it blends, it gets things, I think, smoother than my general stand blender did. It just does a better job. I think it has more power to it, so it really blends things up quite quickly. But the two actually more important things are it's much easier to clean. You're going to be putting a lot of thick liquids into this and all this other stuff. When you're finally done, the blades inside a traditional blender down inside can be a little difficult to clean, and you don't want to end up getting any bacteria down in there. So the blades on a Ninja or a NutriBlender, or NutriBullet, they're on the lid, so when you take them off, you lift it out, and you can wash that. You can make sure that gets really good and clean. You can also then, you make everything up in that one container, take the blades off, put the lid on, and you just have your drink right there to go. You don't have to put it in dirty another container. You just go ahead, mix it all up, put it all together, and you're drinking good to go. So a blender is another really good idea to have. If you're going to try intermittent fasting along with your ketogenic diet, then you're probably going to want something to kind of help with the cravings throughout the morning. For me, I do the keto coffee first thing in the morning. That's my morning routine, is the keto coffee, which I will cover in an upcoming video here soon. But you might also just be someone that wants tea. Maybe you don't like coffee, especially because you're not going to be able to put cream and sugar in that coffee. So you kind of maybe got to find something that works for you. So you're going to want probably some way of making one of those. Either a hot kettle, which you can pick up, the one you'll be seeing here on screen I got for $11 off Amazon. Amazon's ridiculous. They're so good. You can get a hot kettle, coffee maker. Coffee maker is obviously more expensive. The one I have is pretty good because I'm very finicky about my coffee. But something like that, and then you can make some green tea or Earl Grey tea or whatever. As long as it doesn't have additional sugar thrown into it, it gives you a good boost. You got that hot liquid to go. I also use my hot kettle, so I don't make a whole lot of tea. I use my hot kettle to make an apple cider vinegar drink, which I use before I eat either of my 2 meals each day. There'll be a video coming out about that here in the future. In the short term, if you're wondering what it is, just Google apple cider vinegar drink, apple cider vinegar drink. You'll come across it. A lot of people. There's little takes on it that you can vary. I'll explain what mine is in that other video. So that's that. Since we're in front of the stove right here, one other thing to maybe consider, you're going to be doing a lot of cooking with real fats, real oils, things along those lines. So you could maybe use some cast iron pans. I've been using mine now. I've had these for a while, but real recently I've started just focusing on them. Since I went over to this diet, I haven't used my non-stick pans. I also have a whole bunch of stainless steel pans just because they're constantly going to be in oil or fat anyway. You're going to be using butter, so you might as well use a surface that is good for that. So cast iron pans work great. If you don't have them, that's not a big deal, but it's worth mentioning that if you do have some of them in your house, maybe break them out for this type of cooking. They will do really good. Okay, so that's the majority of the hardware type stuff I would say you need. From there, then it's down to, I'm not going to talk about individual foods for the most part, but some common items you might want to have around the house for your food prep. The first is going to be several different options in terms of a cooking fat. So you have things like coconut oil, you have things like saffron oil, you have standard extra virgin olive oil. These are all really good. You want to stay away from the corn-based ones. Your Crisco, those type things, because that corn-based, corn is carbohydrates, corn is also sugar, especially corn starch is heavy sugar. So you want to watch out for those. You want to look for your olive oil and all that. Check the label on them. If they don't have any sugar or carbohydrates in them or very low sugar, low carbs, you're probably okay. These all here that you're showing off, there's none of that in either of them. The fourth one's a little bit different. So this is ghee. That is clarified butter, which they then take the clarified butter and they continue to cook it down slowly until all the extra moisture cooks out of it. And then you have what is ghee butter. This is a really good cooking thing compared to normal butter. So normal butter has a smoke point 350, 375. This has a smoke point about 100 degrees higher than that, 450, 475, somewhere in there. So if you are using a really hot skillet to sear something or whatever, the ghee can be much better for that cooking than butter would, because the butter would just burn off if you don't want to use the oil and really submerge it in a whole lot of oil. Ghee's got a little bit of a funky flavor and odor to it. Not necessarily bad. It's got a bit of a nutty smell to it. With food, I like it. I like it with my eggs. I use the ghee to make my eggs. That's why you can see some of it's used up in there. But I don't like it in my coffee. One of the things for bulletproof coffee that we'll come back to in one of those future videos, like I said, is add in a fat. Some people recommend the ghee because of that. I do not. I don't find that it tastes well with the coffee. The cat's coming. I saw her. Where'd she go? She's getting ready to jump up here. I just like regular butter and I just feel it tastes better. So I use the Kerrygold butter. And let's jump over to that. That's going to be the one item that kind of is maybe your grocery store food. So Kerrygold butter is grass-fed butter. And let me cut and get rid of the cat. So this Kerrygold butter is specifically grass-fed butter. There's several reasons for this. I'm going to go into some of them. I'll give you, I'll give you my opinions a little bit. So the main thing is your Land O'Lakes, your other primary butters that come from. Now they do make many different ones, but some of them have additional things added into them. They have sugar in order to sweeten them up a little bit, which we don't want. They have MSG in them that we don't really want. MSG can cause an insulin spike also. They have a lot of these other things beyond just the pure butter. So the idea for the grass-fed butter is in order to get rid of some of that. Now this one is still salted. This one that you're looking at is still salted butter, but the salt, I know how much of it is in there, so I can take into account for that. It also has a different flavor. I can't really explain it. You just kind of have to try it for yourself, but this butter, put this in the frying pan with some not sausage, but with some eggs or whatever. It tastes different than that Land O'Lakes butter or whatever else. It has a better flavor to it, which is hard to explain. Some people also very much they're very concerned about GMOs. They're concerned about the feed that, say, the cows are eating that you use for your larger dairies and everything. So they want the grass-fed because they feel those cows are going to be healthier. You're going to have less hormones in them and stuff like that. I don't 100% subscribe to that theory. I am not afraid of GMOs. I'm not afraid of my cows having shots to make them healthier, steroids, things along those lines. Doesn't really frighten me. I do know that in the keto side of things, there's a lot of people that are really concerned about that. I don't subscribe to that. But the fact that it does taste significantly better, and then we don't have to worry about the sugars or anything else added into it, does make me buy this butter here. There's Kerrygold. There's other types of it. And also a hint, in my grocery store, this is not sold with all the butters. I don't know why. It's not in with the butters. Instead, it is in with the cheeses. It's in with all the artisan cheeses in around the deli. So in that same cabinet is where I find the Kerrygold butter. You might find other ones. There's 2 or 3 of them at my local grocery store. All right, so that's the butter. Moving on, you're going to maybe want to consider Himalayan salt or a better source of salt. One of the problems with a ketogenic diet is mineral retention. You're going to lose some extra minerals. You're just not going to keep them in your body like you would previously. You're going to be flushing a lot more out of them through the process of ketosis. So Himalayan salt has a lot more than just sodium in it. It has a lot of other minerals that come out of the rocks and the ground up there and everything to come down. So I got Himalayan salt. I got my own shaker or crusher for it, and that seems to work pretty well. If you don't want to go down this road, you don't want to buy Himalayan salt, your next best option is sea salt. The sea salt will pick up a lot more minerals and nutrients than standard salt. If you don't like that, then kosher salt, and then finally standard table salt is kind of your worst option. But that is what we want. I went ahead and got the Himalayan salt. Almond flour. So if you're someone that really wants baked goods, regardless, you kind of have you got to have some type of baked goods. Maybe biscuits or something. You can do them a little bit if you're smart by making your own. So almond flour still has carbohydrates in it, but it's significantly less than wheat flour, corn flour, all those type things. Almond flour is reasonably good on the ketogenic diet as long as you keep it in check. So you can take some of this, mix some egg into there, some baking soda or powder, whichever one it is, and you can make like a little soft biscuit or something with that you could throw your egg on or whatever. I bought the flour itself. You could make this on your own if you want to just take some almonds, blanch them, get the shells off of them, and then powderize them. You could do that. But for me, I found 2 pounds of almonds cost like $24, or 2 pounds of almond flour cost like $14. So I bought the almond flour instead, made it easy for myself. Cacao powder. So this is pure ground cocoa bean. Not cocoa, pure ground cocoa bean. Cocoa that you're going to get with like a Hershey's label on or whatever, generally is going to have salt and sugar added into it because it's what they're going to be using to make the chocolate. Cacao is just the ground cocoa bean. If you're a big chocoholic and you need to have something with a chocolate flavor into it, you can use this in different items and still stay pretty low. It's got a little bit of carbs, 3 grams per serving, no sugars though. So it's kind of the best case alternative if you must have some type of chocolatey flavor. It's going to be much of a darker chocolate because there's none of that sugar, but it is some there. Not a big fan of this. I put a teaspoon of this or a tablespoon of this in my coffee like the first day out. Didn't really like it, and since then I've not had another serving of it at all. I was never a big chocolate person anyway. So there's that. Lastly, we got a few other just little things. We have this MCT oil. So that stands for multi-chain triglycerides. I'm not going to dive into this one too much. This is the science beyond my understanding. But the rough point of it is this is generally created from coconut. They take the coconut and they continue to refine it down into just the multi-chain triglycerides. This apparently is very good for your brain. Your brain uses them for functioning. It helps the neurons fire better or something. It's recommended in a lot of what I've seen for the ketogenic experts out there talking. 2 or 3 tablespoons of this a day. So before my first meal in the day, I have 1 tablespoon of this with apple cider vinegar. Before my second meal of the day, last meal of the day, I have another 1 tablespoon of it. And then obviously we have the apple cider vinegar right here behind this. This helps the acidity inside your stomach. It helps with digestion. It helps with a whole bunch of things. Again, according to these keto experts, I recommend doing your own Google searches. Look up apple cider vinegar. You're going to find all kinds of videos on it. It's a very widely discussed topic, so there's much better people to get that information from than me. Okay, so that's basically it. All this together, when I put it all together, I spent about $250, give or take. Now, 75 of that was the Ninja blender, so right there was a significant amount. But getting a lot of the other little odds and ends together, the salt shaker was another $14. The 5-pound bag of Himalayan salt was like $14. It added up pretty significantly right off the bat. The almond flour was 14, 11, 12, something in there. But as you can see, like the initial cost up front was pretty expensive. Not even, not even including the groceries. The groceries all came on after that. Thankfully, though, things like spinach, kale are really cheap. Avocado's a little more expensive, obviously. You're talking $1.10 for $1.10, $2 for one avocado. But spinach, kale, a lot of your primary vegetables are pretty darn cheap to go from there. Okay, hopefully you found that useful. Remember, I'm only 13 days in at this point, so this is just the stuff I've seen and used so far. There may be more important things that we'll come up with down the line, and I will update as we go from there. In the next video, we will discuss the food the food I am eating every day, my general dieting that I've going on. We'll dive into that a little bit more in that video. Hopefully see you then. Thanks for watching.